Oh, man, 2 wrestling themes in one day. One WWE, now one AEW. Listen, if you know, you know. If you know, you're doing the dance, just like I was. Look up Swerve Strickland. You'll see the dance. And boy, did that catch on. It's hour 2 of the game after work. Mitch Fortner, Trey Coverdale, and AJ Shaw. AW Dynamite coming to Kansas City on December 11th. You know we're going to be a part of that in some sort of fashion. That's not for another couple of months away. We got a Colorado game coming up on Saturday. I'll be there. Voice of the Buff, Smart Johnson, will join us at roughly 5:40. We still have Mitch in Vegas before Troy gets out of here to head to Boozer Family Park. It's Boozer, right? You got K-State Soccer?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. They've got Utah in, first time that they've played Utah.
That is correct. One quick thing before we talk to Curry. We were talking a little, just briefly, because I'll be honest, I'm not the most prepared yet to go in depth about Big 12 basketball quite yet. I don't know every team as much as I would like to yet. Anybody else, does it feel like DeJuan Harris at Kansas is now kind of into that Perry Ellis status? I feel like he's been there for 5 or 6 years at this point.
Yeah. I think you're probably right at this point, yeah.
I thought he was done last year.
Me too.
Welcome to continuation of COVID years.
No, yeah, he has the COVID year. That's what he has left.
So
that thing is so ridiculous, man.
We're back on the game. Let's talk with a former Wildcat. Let's talk to leader of Wildcat NIL. He's moving. He's shaking. And he's Curry Sexton. Curry, welcome back to the show. I was thinking about this question last week, and I forgot to ask because K-State's about to play a second Big 12 After Dark. It's a new experience for everybody for the BYU game. I'm thinking maybe they picked up a couple of hacks or something to be more prepared for a second road trip for Big 12 After Dark. Over the years of playing for K-State, is there any hacks that you can pick up that makes your travel experience easier?
Yeah, excuse me, I'm out in a field right now, so I'm sorry for any wind feedback. The biggest thing is just knowing how to attack the trip. I mean, you look at the difference between an 11 a.m. road kick and an 8:15, local time road kick. That's a lot of time. That creates for a lot of time to kill. I mean, 11 a.m. kick on the road, you play, you're done by 2:30, you're on the plane by 4, and you're back home by 5, anywhere between 5 and 7. It's still sunny out. On the flip side, the game like this, the sun goes down before the lights go on and the game gets started. So there's an immense amount of time where guys have to sit in their hotel room and waste a day and think about the game. And so it's just creating, for the coaches, it's creating ways to kill time and things for the guys to do during the day, watch film, go over game prep, get naps in, watch some football, to take a breather. And for the guys, it's just, how do you spend that time? How do you find the right balance of focusing on the game while also not thinking about it too much? So I think having gone to BYU in a similar setting, obviously a little bit longer travel is good for this team. They're not going to be completely this late kick in a mountain time zone is not going to be completely foreign to them. So I think some of the struggles that they dealt with at BYU, they should be able to recover from for this matchup.
You say you're in the field. So it's probably one of two things. You're either dressed in camo somewhere, or are you helping out with harvest?
No, neither. Actually, I'm actually looking. I'm working. I'm looking at a piece of ground that my employer is interested in. So I'm just out surveying a piece of ground. So I'm walking out in my work clothes, walking through a piece of pasture ground.
That's a heck of a way to do scouting.
Yeah, kicking around some dirt. Yeah, this is
exactly.
This is some good land.
Yeah,
boss, let's lowball them.
Life comes at you fast.
That's my bad. I totally forgot. Yeah, you're lawyering for you're an attorney, right, for a farmer now?
Yes, I'm an attorney for a food cattle company, large cattle producers.
Okay, right on. Curry Sexton is our guest. So if you're one of these players for K-State and you see another 9 p.m. something or other kickoff, are you irritated at that point? Is that kind of getting old after just the one?
I mean, potentially, but I think I look at it, as more of an opportunity. Obviously with the Pac-12, not being in existence anymore, not being in existence like it previously was. There's not a lot of games for people to consume late at night. So by being in this, this 8:15 ESPN kick slot, a lot of eyeballs are going to be on your game, and playing Colorado, playing Coach Prime, Shadur, Travis Hunter, the whole crew. That there's an opportunity for you to play in front of a national audience, against a team that draws a lot of eyeballs, and this is an opportunity for you to showcase your abilities. So no, I think in this instance, I think you look at it as more of an opportunity than a frustration. At least I hope that's how the guys are looking at it. Game times are out of your control. Obviously you can have your preferences, but at the end of the day, whether it's 11 a.m., 2:30, 6, 7 o'clock, or 9:15, 8:15, you got to be ready to play football. And so I think the guys will look at it as an opportunity.
I want to ask you another question to flash back to the old days, if you don't mind, because it's hard to put yourself in shoes like Dylan Edwards and about what he's about to experience, because he's about to play his former team a year after he transferred out. And Coach Prime talked about it earlier this week that there's no animosity. He loves Dylan Edwards. They've known each other for a long time. Dylan has asked not to talk about his Colorado experience, other than, of course, your interview with him for the Wildcat NIL podcast. But maybe this is a bit of a reach, but do you recall the times when Arthur Brown was with the team and playing against Miami? Could you sense that he was more hyped for that kind of game?
Yeah, I mean, I think of two examples that would apply to this situation, maybe in a different context. That is Arthur in 2011 at Miami, 2012 at home against Miami, and then Chris Harper in 2012 in the Fiesta Bowl against Oregon. Had an opportunity to play against the school that they committed to out of high school that they signed initially played. And I think Arthur's a different case, because Arthur wasn't a guy. He wasn't an emotional guy. His mood, his intensity did not change week to week. But Chris, I can recall specifically, going into that game against Oregon, there was a little bit more energy for Chris. I think he felt like, hey, this is the team. This is the team where I played as a true freshman, and I left there, and so I got to show them. I got to show them what they're missing. And I don't think either one of them were to the degree that Dylan is. Given that, hey, 6 months ago he was still on the Colorado roster. 6 months ago he's going through spring ball with Colorado, and now all of a sudden here he is, and he's coming to play there with an opposing jersey on. And just given the environment at Colorado with Coach Prime and some of the players that they have in that fan base, again, a lot of attention, a lot of eyeballs. There's going to be a lot of people keying on Dylan Edwards in that stadium, and so you just hope he's able to rein in his focus and not get too emotional about the game. And the crowd is probably going to give him some mixed feedback. I think you're going to see some people cheering for him and some people booing him. And he's just got to try to cancel that out as best he can and focus on playing football, doing his job. I know that's easier said than done, but I think Dylan's the type of kid. I think he's gonna make the most of it.
Curry, I don't know if there's much you can do about it, but you are a little bit grainy and a little bit cutting out a little bit. But we'll try to grind through it, and maybe it'll buff itself out here. Speaking of the buffs. Travis Hunter is obviously one of the best players in the nation. He has the second best odds right now in Vegas to win the Heisman Trophy. Just when you think about a player like that, I mean, how scary is that kind of matchup when you got to face Travis Hunter on both sides of the field?
I wouldn't look at it as scary. Again, I think it's an opportunity. Here's a guy who's just eating people up on both offense and defense. And so if you're a DB, if you're Jacob Parrish or Keenan Barber, you got to look at NFL scouts who are going to be watching this game and watching this tape to show them that you've got a skill set that can play at the next level. And if you're somebody on the offensive side of the ball, show that you can win your routes against a guy like Travis Hunter. So I think it's an opportunity. We had 2011 we played against RG3 the year he won the Heisman, and at a point where I think he had more touchdown passes than incompletions. He had not thrown a pick. And obviously, in that game, if you recall back in 2011, he gets off to an incredibly hot start. I think, you're thinking, how in the world are we going to stop this guy? But, you find a way to get, make plays. You find a way to put pressure on that guy, and again, turn it into an opportunity. So I don't think it's frightening at all. I don't think there's any, fear component to it. Again, it's just, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on him and on this game. and same with Shadur. And so you got to find a way to show out on national television with a lot of NFL eyes on this game.
Curry Sexton joins us from an undisclosed field out somewhere. I'll just leave you this, Curry. I just want to get your overall thoughts on this game and how you feel like the Cats will fare in a first road trip to Boulder in 14 years.
I'm more nervous about this game than I have been at any point this season. And I think part of that is just being a little bit jaded by BYU, but this is a team who appears to have strengths that align with our weaknesses. This is a team that only throws the football. They don't have a running game, and our secondary has been a weak game for us this year. Alan Bowman threw for 364 yards against us and then got benched the next week for Garrett Rangel. And so we've, obviously got a weakness back there. I hope that the bye week has allowed for us to shore up some of those issues that we've been having, but that's something that scares me. And this is a team that last year was absolutely horrible against the run, and all of a sudden this year they've not given up a single 100-yard rusher. And obviously our running game is our strength. So to me, this game is going to come down to, can we run the football, and can we get after the quarterback? And I think if you can do both of those things, then we can be successful. If we're not able to stop Shadur in the passing game, and we're not able to run the football, it could be a long night for the Cats.
Couldn't agree more, Curry. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're busy. We always appreciate you having you on. Curry, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That's Curry Sexton joining us. Very busy guy, but really appreciate him giving us his time. Even though I was literally on a field working, Curry Sexton joining us from, again, an undisclosed location. I'm not even sure if it's in Kansas, but I don't know if he said Kansas, but he was out somewhere trying to help somebody become a little bit richer. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. I want to talk, of course, about K-State, Colorado, just my general thoughts without giving my prediction. That'll come on Power Cat Game Day, which kicks off at 5 o'clock on Saturday with Zach Nemechek, Mason Voth, and Tim Everson. But in Mitch in Vegas, we'll break down this Colorado game and give you my keys. They're pretty similar to Curry's. I'll add a couple of things. Mitch in Vegas is coming up next. You're listening to The Game.
Miss any of the show? Check out The Game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and of course, NewsRadioKMAN.com. You're listening to The Game on News Radio KMAN.
How lucky can one guy be?
I get concerns that you've been overserved, sir, while we're here in Vegas.
The water's free. So is the booze, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm
right,
really
exactly.
I'm really mad about that sportscast. Not even joking. Like, I'm legit pissed right now.
Wait, well, kind of freaked me out for a second. I thought you were about to have a coughing attack. I've been there, and it's the worst, especially when you're on air.
I'm pissed about it.
And technically, there's nobody there to cover for you. Although
I'm also not
You
happy
battled
about
through it.
my record. I'm really aggravated by that. So there's two things I'm mad about. So this week I'm going to be taking out all my frustration on these picks.
Well, AJ, you went 2-4 last week. Everybody else 3-3. AJ was upset about 3-3 last week. 2-4. I can tell he's steaming.
5-7 is unacceptable. We are going to definitely have to look at getting the players back in order, executing the fundamentals successfully, and we're going to have to do better this week. I'm livid about it.
Waitress, hold the water. Let's get this guy a cup of decaf or something. We need to calm him down a little bit. All right, let's get to our first game. Mitch in Vegas is underway. And by the way, Week 7 standings. AJ still in first place by 2 games, 25-19. I'm 23-21. The people 21-23. And Troy is also 21-23.
I'm coming for you.
If you want to be like the people and vote on these games, at Mitch the Ford on Twitter. We've also retweeted at The Game KMAN and at 1350 KMAN. The picks are all on Twitter. Let's step into the casino, head into the sports book, and start making 6 picks. Real quick, I have a bonus pick. We're going to start out with a prop bet. Now, this is actually not going to count towards the season standings. But as I had mentioned, I didn't get a chance to ask Curry because the phone was cutting out, so just didn't have a chance. I had asked Drew Galloway from K-State Online. Over under on the Ralphie run. The pregame Ralphie run at Folsom Field, I'm setting it at 21 seconds. Over under 21 seconds. That was the average run time last season.
This is going to be on the TikTok, right? Him doing the run, right?
Her.
I don't know if I'll be on the field for that.
Okay.
I'll probably be in the press box by that time. Maybe. We'll see. You never know.
I'll go over.
I'm going to go under.
I mean, there's no real logic, I guess, to
right.
this. It's just a big old guess. It's like, what do you think the coin toss of the game is going to be? It's 50-50. Ralphie's looking a little slow this year. Maybe getting up there in age a little bit. I'm going to take the over, but I bet it's 21.6 or something. It's going to be really close. But I will also tweet out that over-under you can pick on Saturday. I'll wait to do it till Saturday, and you get to get on the action with the prop bets.
Over, under. Can we get Mitch on Ralphie? Oh, never mind.
On what?
On Ralphie.
On Ralphie? No.
How much money?
What would it take to get me on a Buffalo?
That's a good ask us anything.
Well, the reason Ralphie is a girl, and Ralphie's has always been girls, because they're not as aggressive. They're still fast. They don't weigh as much, but they're not as aggressive. So if it is Ralphie, maybe it wouldn't take as much. But there's like a Buffalo farm in between Clifton and Clyde, Kansas. Not too far from here. It's pretty neat. I mean, they're still out there. You drive by, and there's buffaloes out in the field. All right, now the real game here. Number 18, K-State is at Colorado. The Cats are a 4.5-point favorite. AJ, lead us off. Do you like the Cats or you like the Buffaloes? 4.5 is the spread. K-State the favorite on the road.
I have been worried about this game for a while. I don't know why. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go Colorado for this one. I'm worried that this team is going to pull what they did in BYU and struggle. So I'm going to have to go with the Buffs.
I think it's the first time this year you've picked the opponent.
No, I picked BYU.
Okay. K-State, the people say 84% Cats.
I am on the back there of the fans. The people saying it, I'm right there with the Cats as well.
Curry mentioned, two major keys. K-State's going to have to run the football. They're going to have to stop the run. Can they get into the backfield and sack Shedeur Sanders? That offensive line has given up 18 sacks in 5 games. That's a high number. It's over 3 a game. That's one of the worst numbers in college football. Not as bad as what it was on pace last year, but it's a little bit behind. It's actually kind of close.
Yeah.
It really is. Okay. Other factors for me does have to do with Dylan Edwards. If he gets stuffed on a play and the crowd goes nuts, don't let that get to your head. Stay composed. A lot of sports is about your mindset, and you can't let that rattle you. Stay focused. Stay pumped. Get out there in that next play and prove them wrong. I know he's excited to be back there. He's excited to play against his former team. But he also wants to make a statement.
Right.
Who wouldn't in that situation? And it's kind of funny how that works. You're playing against your buddies. A lot of the time, you're more amped than ever in a game like that. So, to me, that's a big factor. A couple of more. Can K-State score in the red zone and score touchdowns? Colorado has been shut down in the red zone lately. In the last 3 games, they have forced 5 turnovers and 1 turnover on downs. K-State on the last road trip struggled in the red zone. They kicked a couple of field goals. That's it. They did not score touchdowns. And that's the big factor. That's right now what K-State's flaw is. Can they take what they've done at home? Like I said earlier this week, bottle it up, wrap it in bubble wrap, overnight ship it to Boulder, Colorado, unwrap it, take the lid off, and have a great performance on the road. That's where K-State has yet to prove themselves. They got the win at Tulane, and that was big. But BYU was a disaster. I would assume that something like that would not happen the rest of this, the rest of the year. That was just such a fluky thing. A couple of things were fluky. A lot of factors go into this one. I'm leaning Colorado. Not necessarily to win, but I'm going to go a Colorado cover plus 4.5. I do expect a one-score game either way. It's going to be a tight nail biter.
Yeah.
In Boulder, K-State's first trip since 2010. But I'm going to go Colorado to cover. That's what my gut is telling me. There's a lot to overcome in this one. A lot of things got to go right. It's a road game in Big 12 play. The thing about that as well, it feels like anything can happen in any given game. All right, our second game will take us to Dallas. The Red River rivalry will be played for the 120th time. Week 7 of college football has been circled on our calendars for months, and I feel bad for anybody that has to go to a wedding.
Right?
Or something that takes up most of your day, and you don't get to watch college football. This has been circled for a while as the best week of college football, and one of the games is number 1 Texas, number 18 Oklahoma at 2:30 on ABC. For those that are saying, why is it at 2:30? It's supposed to be at 11 a.m. Historically, this game has been mostly played at 2:30.
2:30, yeah, when it was an ABC game back in the original slating of things.
Oklahoma's won 5 of the last 6, but AJ, Texas favored by 14.5.
Yeah, I got to go with Texas. I think they're playing really good football right now, and they've definitely looked like the number 1 team the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to go with Texas.
The people say Texas, 75%.
I'm going to hedge a little on that because I think that the line is too much for what is a great rivalry matchup, and I'm going to go Oklahoma.
The numbers in this game are unnecessary to break down because it seems like it's always the underdog that not only covers, they win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened a number of times these last 7 or 8 years. I mean, last year, Dylan Gabriel was the hero. 2022, Texas, I think they were a dog that game, and they put up a shutout in that game. Kayla Williams was born in the Red River rivalry. Maybe one of the biggest upsets in the rivalry's history was 2015 because that was a really bad Texas team. They were really bad, and they beat a very good Oklahoma team. Now, Quinn Ewers is going to play Oklahoma's leading receiver, which in the passing game has been, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but what it feels like it's been this year, like Oklahoma struggles to run the football. They have to throw it. Well, Deion Burks is not going to play. He's out with an injury, so that's a big blow. This could be a lower scoring game. With the hook, I'm actually going to go Oklahoma myself. Mm-hmm. Texas is going to win. I do not expect Oklahoma to win. 14-point margin. All right, next, back to the Big 12. Arizona's at number 14, BYU. This will be the Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt game, even though it's not big noon. They're going to kick at 3 on Fox. 26th meeting. Each team has won 22 times. There's been a couple of ties. All right, AJ, BYU favored by 4 at home at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. Not a night game, but it's a home game for the Cougars.
It's going to be a good game. Very good game. I'm going to go with the Cougs.
The people like BYU, 68%.
Yeah, and I'm right there with them. I think that BYU utilizes the home field and is able to pull this one out.
How good can BYU be on defense? They are very undersized at corner, and I think that could be a big factor because Teteroa McMillan is a dude, but this is an Arizona offense that has not lived up to expectations. So I don't know what to expect. Their Big 12 win was against Utah, who does have a good defense, but Cam Rising didn't play. It was the true freshman. Cam Rising's supposed to play, by the way, tomorrow night against Arizona State. But give me BYU. It's a small line. It's just 4. It's a home game. I'm going to go with the home crowd, the home team, to get it done by at least a touchdown against the Wildcats of Arizona. All right, our next game takes us to Eugene, Oregon. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Oregon. The Buckeyes are favored by 3. This is, in my opinion, is Ohio State's first test after a very soft schedule. First time Ohio State has played in Eugene since 1967. And by the way, Will Howard versus Kobe Savage. This is no doubt about it, a tone setter for the Big Ten championship. AJ again, Buckeyes on the road favored by 3.
For some reason, Game Day, their Twitter account thinks Dylan Gabriel's a Heisman finalist. Don't know how, but this is going to be a good game. I'm actually more excited about this game than the Texas-Oklahoma game. I'm going to go ahead and take the Ducks. I think they're gonna pull the upset of sorts, and I'm gonna take Oregon.
The interesting aspect of that is that you're talking about Dylan Gabriel potentially being a Heisman candidate, and nobody's talking about Will Howard.
Will Howard did miss a game.
True.
Are you going with Ohio State?
I'm going Ohio State.
The people like Ohio State. I'm going to go with Ohio State's defense. Both Dylan Gabriel and Will Howard, I mean, this is the proving game, right? That they're going to lead their team to a national championship. The deal is Ohio State's defense is way too good. They are really good. That's why I lean -3 for Ohio State. All right, we'll speed up a little bit. Game 5 is Ole Miss at LSU. That's number 9 versus number 13. However, if you ask LSU, they're going with their coaches poll ranking, number 10, which will be the first top 10 matchup between these two since 1962. LSU has won 13 straight at home. But AJ, Ole Miss on the road, favored by 3.5, going to Death Valley.
No, LSU's going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm a Death Valley believer. LSU on that one.
Yeah, I don't think we have to say a whole lot because I'm kind of with you guys as well.
Yeah.
LSU is on a hot run. Brian Kelly has lost just one time at Death Valley. Ole Miss, what are they coming off of? Did they lose this past week? I know they have a loss. Both teams have a loss. But anyway, across the board, we're all going LSU. And then finally, final game in the Big 12, final game of Mitch in Vegas Week 7 is number 11 Iowa State at West Virginia. Cyclones have won 6 straight road games. They're undefeated at 5-0, believe it or not, for the first time since 1980. Iowa State has not been 6-0 since 1938.
Oh, brother.
And by the way, Rocco Beck's dad, he's the quarterback for Iowa State, is going to be honored
Oh, really?
at West Virginia for this game because he's going into the West Virginia Hall of Fame. He was a tight end for the Mountaineers in the mid to late 90s. AJ,
Perfect.
Cyclones undefeated, going to 3-2 West Virginia, favored by 3 points.
By the way, LSU was on a bye last week. That's why. But they are they only have the one loss. That's to USC. Iowa State's definitely been a surprise somewhat, being 5-0. You mentioned they'd be 6-0, but I think this game's going to get to their head. I'm going to take West Virginia to pick up the upset. I'm going to go with the Mountaineers.
The people like the Mountaineers, but it's close, 52%.
I'm on Iowa State pulling this one off and going to 6-0.
I was more high on West Virginia than most people. You know what? Give me the Mountaineers at home. Iowa State, this undefeated run's going to get their head, I think.
At some point, yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
giving you a gut feeling. I really have I'm just feeling West Virginia at home.
Okay.
What I just said is just kind of maybe nonsense. It doesn't mean a whole lot. I'm just not the biggest believer in Matt Campbell in offense. So his defense is good, but West Virginia's going to get the ground game going against the Cyclones.
It's Vegas. You're allowed to play with your gut.
So I'm going West Virginia +3. That's going to wrap up Mitch in Vegas. Troy has to get out of here, and when we come back, we speak with the voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, after these words.
Your home for K-State sports.
Walk already stripped by Noel. Ball is loose. Noel comes out of the pack. Noel dribbles. And he lays it in. The Wildcats are headed for the Elite Eight.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
We are back on the game with Mitch Fortner and AJ Shaw. Troy Coverdale heading out to Boozer Family Park. Now pleased to be joined by the voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. He joins us now here in the game. Mark, great to talk with you once again. First off, let's talk about the Coach Prime effect, the Deion Sanders effect off the field. Boulder, Colorado. How has the area changed since Deion Sanders has showed up?
Mitch, Boulder, Colorado has become the epicenter of college football from an attention standpoint. Now I understand your listeners may go, what are you talking about? I understand there are great programs. Georgia's won a national championship. Alabama's always good. Michigan, Ohio State. You've got some of the marquee programs, but when it comes to pure attention, what Deion Sanders has done, what Coach Prime has done, is taken a program that in 2022 was probably the most irrelevant college football program and the worst power conference, by the way, team in America, and made them a team that is on network television. We have had now let's see, over the course of a year and five games, I think we've had one of the major network pregame shows add a Buffs game now. Is it 7 or 8 times over the last, 12 and 17 games? I mean, so it's become an attention center point in college football, and it's really an amazing thing to witness. The football on the field is getting better, but what's happening off the field has really been an amazing process to watch during his year and a half at CU.
And if you ask Brett Yormark, that's a great thing for the Big 12, that attention. He loves that Coach Prime attention, and I would assume Colorado was probably the most watched team last year, if not overall, certainly of teams that did not make a bowl game. They had to be the most watched team in college football, and that continues this season.
Yep. Now, in fact, the Buffs, I think, are number 2 in the country right now, I think, in total viewership. Every single game they've had now, including this one against Kansas State, is a network television game, so a national broadcast. And so I think behind Georgia, I think was the only one that was ahead of the Buffaloes up to this point in terms of total viewership, and it's pretty close. And you're talking about a team, like you said, that came off a non-bowl season a year ago, that started out 3-0 and lost 6 straight games to end the season, and was not a bowl team. But I say to people all the time that you don't understand what this guy is. He's an icon. He's a marketing genius. He is a brand. He's a corporation. He's a Pied Piper. I mean, people just seem to follow him. You know, one of the interesting things, I've kind of seen evidence of this on a couple of shows I did in podcasts this past week, is the enormous number of people who are Prime fans who have become Buffs fans now over the last year and a half. And it really is really something to behold. You know, the documentary that he has out on Amazon, I'm on that thing, obviously, just by because I'm the voice of the Buffs. And it's amazing. I'll be walking through an airport, and somebody will stop and go, "Hey, I saw you on the Coach Prime thing." And so it's fascinating to see all that he generates, from a sponsorship, from an endorsement, from a donation standpoint. It's really been a wild thing to observe over the last season and a half.
Mark, I think I can speak for a lot of people outside of Boulder covering college football that we just didn't know what to expect from Colorado this season. We know about Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Wasn't quite sure about the rest of the team. On Monday, Chris Kleiman was very complimentary about the Buffs defense and how improved they've been ever since probably halftime of the Nebraska game. But would love to know from an eyewitness himself about why and where Colorado is better on the defensive side.
Well, I wish I could tell you that before the season I was convinced in guys leaving and guys coming in, and so there was so much newness on this defense. The first thing you have to do on the defensive side is point to Robert Livingston, the defensive coordinator. I got to be honest with you. I walked into an event I'm speaking at one night, and as I walked in, the organizer said, "Hey, you're going to introduce Robert Livingston tonight." And I said, "Who's Robert Livingston?" And they said, "He's the new defensive coordinator. He just signed his contract about an hour ago." And I said, "I've never heard of the guy before." And then so I quickly grabbed my phone and looked him up. Found out he was a very exciting young coach with the Cincinnati Bengals, defensive backs coach. Called a couple of friends of mine in the NFL, and they said, "You're going to love this guy. He's high energy. He's a teacher." The team has really responded. So, number one, I point to him. Number two, because of some of those transfer portal guys that I was talking about, they brought in some guys, Chidozie Nwankwo, a defensive tackle. They got 2 defensive ends they brought in from Pittsburgh. They've had some major upgrades in that defensive front. That unit has played very well. We knew the back end of the defense with Travis Hunter and DJ McKinney was going to be very, very good. The safeties have been very good. Shiloh Sanders, the other son for Coach Prime. The linebackers have come into play, but that defensive front has really improved, and I think that's helped that entire unit.
On Tuesday, Coach Sanders announced that his son Shiloh was going to be back from injury. He's a full go and should play against K-State on Saturday. He was an all Pac-12 player a year ago. But the thing is, I mean, this defense has made its improvement without him on the field, actually.
Yep.
So what's the impact of having Shiloh back for this game?
Well, he's really a vocal guy. He's a leader, and he's a very physical football player. I mean, he's one of those guys that plays with his tail on fire, throwing his body around, making big plays. He's got a penchant. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say, right? He's got a penchant for making plays. And so he's a welcome addition. Carter Stoutmeyer has done a great job filling in for him the last couple of ball games and will continue to play. But I think having that physicality, that veteran presence back there, he and Cameron Silman Craig, those 2 safeties, were playing very, very well early in the season. Cameron has continued to play very, very well. He had that bubble recovery for a touchdown here, of course, a couple of weeks ago. And so I think having both those guys back there really helps the back end of that defense, along with those two very athletic corners I talked about.
Speaking with the voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. So let's go to the offensive side. And, of course, last year, one of the struggles was the running game. Dylan Edwards was a part of that as a freshman. He is now with the Wildcats. He's a kid from Kansas, grew up childhood friends with quarterback Avery Johnson. But I kind of want to take a look at it with the same question, talking about the defense as a whole. Has that area become better as this season has continued?
It has. And by the way, Dylan was a great kid, by the way. I just want to say this for all the Kansas State fans out there. A great kid. I enjoyed dealing with him, interviewing him, and really was disappointed to see him leave. He's a talented kid. So congratulations to K-State for getting him back. The offensive line has been remade. Jordan Seaton, the number one tackle in America, has been outstanding. Now, he's a freshman, so he's had a couple of moments where he's had to learn about playing at this level. But overall, I think it's spectacular the way he's played. He's got great feet, great hands. He'll play a long time in the National Football League. What they've done is shuffled a little bit at the two guard positions and right tackle. And they seem to, the last couple of weeks, kind of find, I think, a formula there that they like. But they've gotten consistently better and incrementally better, I think, as this season has gone on. Their last ball game against Central Florida, they had 129 yards rushing. Now, I know for Kansas State, a team that loves to run the football, that's not a huge number. For Colorado, that's a big number. They are always going to lean on that right arm of Shedeur Sanders and that room of outstanding running wide receivers, rather, that they've got. But they needed to be able to run the ball just to have that threat out there to allow linebackers to bite on the play-action fakes and those kind of things, and just give them something to think about. Now that rushing attack has kind of come these last few weeks, it really has balanced this offense out a little bit. It's still, like I said, lopsided of the pass, but it's given defense something to think about, and it's really helped, I think, the offensive performance for Colorado.
Yeah, and for K-State's defense, they're supposed to have an elite secondary. It hasn't quite played to its potential yet, so the passing attack of Colorado is pretty scary, which is right now ninth in the country. I want to ask you about Shedeur in a moment, but the Travis Hunter effect is quite visible in college football. He's on the cover of College Football 25 as a two-way player, and he's going to be a high draft pick here very soon. I was listening to another show earlier this week, and they mentioned that he's one of the best in Colorado football history. He may be the best in Colorado football history.
I'll tell you this. He may be the best in college football history. I mean, this guy is unlike anybody I've ever seen. I've been doing this for 35 years. My broadcast partner, the great coach Gary Barnett, of course, from Colorado and Northwestern, has been around the game for 50-plus years. He said to me here early this season during a ball game, he said, Mark, I'm willing to say it, that's the best player in college I've ever seen. The guy does things we've never seen. He's a freak of an athlete. He understands. He's intuitive on the field. Right now, you think about it, he's one of the 2 or 3 front runners for the Thorpe Award and for the Biletnikoff Award, and many out there projecting he's one of the top 2 or 3 guys for the Heisman as well. I don't know that we've ever seen a player like this. He plays 120-plus snaps a game. He does it on both sides of the ball. He doesn't get fatigued ever. He doesn't seem to ever want to take a play. If I asked him one day, I said, you ever going to take a play? He goes, I don't want to. I love playing. I want to keep playing. He's been asking to play in special teams, and Prime says, no, you've got enough on offense and defense. I'm telling you, this guy is as unique as anybody I've ever seen. You said he's going to be a high draft pick. There are projections out there saying he is the number 1 pick because he is as unique as anybody I've ever seen.
Well, speaking of the draft, Chris Kleiman also said a lot of great things about Shedeur Sanders, and he feels that Shedeur should be the first quarterback off the board in 2025. He is clearly talented, and I think K-State fans are very aware of his talent. I think the question, though, is how much more talent is around him for him to throw to besides Travis Hunter?
Well, there's a lot of guys out there. There's Jimmy Horn, who was a big player for the Buffaloes a year ago. LaJonte Wester transfers in from Florida Atlantic. He's had monster games so far. Will Shepard they brought in from Vanderbilt. Amarian Miller is a physically gifted athlete who looks like an NFL wide receiver, and he's having a tough time. He and Traylon Miller, who's a freshman, not related, by the way, both those guys look like NFL receivers and have made spectacular plays at times, but they can't find enough snaps to get on the field. And so that wide receiver room, if you look at it, the publications around the country that kind of gauge this thing, they've got them, one of the top 4 or 5 wide receiver rooms in the country. And so Shadur's got plenty of guys to throw to. That is not an issue. It's kind of funny, and I'll tell you a line that just popped up here in the Denver area the last couple of days. It wasn't me. It was one of the newspaper guys who wrote this. He said, Colorado has got 3 of the top players in college football right now, and 2 of them are Travis Hunter, right? Talking about Shadur, Travis on both sides of the ball. And so Shadur's got plenty of weapons to throw to out there on offense.
All right, Mark, last question. It's been 14 years since K-State fans have traveled to Boulder. Anything we need to be reminded of when it comes to attending a game at Folsom Field?
Well, it's always been relatively raucous. The thing about it is with the prime effect that we talked about earlier, it's an entirely different atmosphere. The Buffs have sold out their season ticket allotment each of the last 2 years. They haven't done that since 1996. The last time they sold it out for one season, by the way. Season tickets are sold out. The student passes are sold out. Every single game is sold out. This one tonight is sold out. And so it's a very interesting and raucous atmosphere, and it's become a must-attend event here in the Mile High City. And, it's kind of funny. A while back, I heard one of the local talk shows talking about how tickets for the Buffs games were going for more than the Broncos games were here in town. And that's almost sacrilege when you make those kind of comments here in Denver, Colorado with the Denver Broncos. So right now, the Colorado Buffaloes are a hot ticket, and it's really become a wild atmosphere, and I think K-State fans are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, Shadur Sanders just a little bit more attractive than Bo Nix right now. I don't blame him right now, but hey, what's cool about this as well is I'm going to be attending a Colorado game in Boulder for the first time in my life, so I cannot wait for this trip out to Boulder just to see the town and then attend some Big 12 After Dark at Folsom. Mark, thank you for spending some time with us, and we'll see you in Boulder on Saturday. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Mitch.
Once again, the voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. Holy cow. I'm awake now.
My bad now. Sorry about that.
Well, we got to get out of here. We have 30 seconds. You have a quick question?
No, I don't.
Yeah, me neither.
Sorry to scare you there. That was my fault.
No, it's all right.
I was assuming we were going to have a last segment.
We're coming up close on the clock, so we got to get out of here. Want to thank once again Mark Johnson for coming on, Curry Sexton, and, of course, Brian Howell for joining us in hour number 1 talking Colorado football. Power Cut Game Day, 5 o'clock Saturday. Network takes over at 7, kickoff at 9:15 at Folsom Field. For AJ, Troy, I'm Mitch. Go Cats.